welcome to another episode of Erica Schmerica Reality Recaps. Today we're going to be talking about 90 Day Fiancé Happily Ever After, Season 6, Episode 7. If you haven't done so already, please make sure to like and subscribe to my new YouTube channel and hit the notification bell to get notified about all new videos I'm going to post. Let's get started. Back in Tulsa this week, Natalie and Mike are helping Trish unload the wood that she picked up last week. Mike is explaining in a lot of detail how to stack the perfect wood pile while Natalie is busy doing cardio with the wood, with Z-wood. And Trish kind of gets a few little jabs in there to Natalie about, becoming an interpreter, helping out around the house, whatever little quips she's making. You could see that Natalie was getting mad, and rightfully so this time, but she's just kind of doing her Natalie thing, zoning out and ignoring Trish. So Natalie was in the kitchen getting ready for Thanksgiving to make her traditional Ukrainian borscht. She was all perturbed because she couldn't get the vegetables that she's used to getting and would refuse to use a substitute and acted a little bit like a psychopath, but on a Natalie scale, she was probably a 3. And while she's in the kitchen, Mike suddenly really took it as a turn on and came up behind her and started touching her, just in the kitchen, touching Natalie. And Natalie whipped around and she's like, I do not like when you touch me like this while I'm cooking, Michael. It's very disgusting. It's disgusting. You touch my ass. You touch my... Ew. Ew. And Trish was standing right there when she said that. Also, she didn't stop saying it. She said it more than once. And Mike said it more than once. In front of his mother. And her bangs. Meanwhile, Trish leaves the room. She can't take it anymore. And once Natalie and Mike were alone again, she's like, why does your mother call me a hooker? A hooker? A hooker? Oh, a hooker. I don't really think Trish said that. I think there are probably a lot of other words Trish could have used, and I'm sure she did. But hooker? I don't see it. There was no other, footage of Trish calling. This was right out of Natalie's head. One of her personalities put it in her mind, and there it was. Anyway, finally it was time to eat. I gotta say, looking at the whole spread on the table, it was pretty unappetizing. Everything was kind of a muted form of beige. Some was greenish beige, some was brownish beige. Just a neutral color palette going on this table. Didn't look so appetizing, except the borscht. And Rumi Ron, who no one's ever talked about, Trish's roommate, just came out of nowhere, and he's having Thanksgiving with them too. So I have so many questions for Rumi Ron. I want to know if he likes the porcelain pigs. I want to know if, any of these collections in the house are his. I want to know what his relationship is with Trish. I want to know if he helps her cut her bangs. I have so many questions. But anyway, he sits down, noting the obvious tension between Natalie and Trish, and he tries to break the ice, make a little chit chat, small talk. And for a little while it worked, but then not so much. Trish had to jump right in, asking Natalie about babies again, because that would be a great idea. I don't even think she and Mike like each other anymore. Why would they even have babies? Nonetheless, Natalie actually gave her a really good response, I thought, especially for Natalie. It was maybe one of her more mature personalities came out. And it just said, she said, I don't have a job yet. I'm not working yet. I want to make sure everything's lined up so my child will have a good future and it won't be stressful. I was like, wow, that was good. And it lasted all of 3 seconds until another personality took over and she was just like, oh. There it was. So tune in next week for the continuation of Trish versus Natalie and all of the personalities. Maybe calling somebody a hooker, maybe not. Brandon and Julia were all excited because a letter came in the mail from immigration. So they were really excited to see if it was Julia's green card. They sat down with Betty and Ron to open the mail all together as a family to see the good news. Unfortunately, I don't think it was Julia's actual green card, but it was some kind of card. And it basically said that Julia now had the ability to work and to travel internationally. So they were all excited, jumping and screaming, and so excited because Julia now realizes that she can get off the farm, start working, and they'll be able to afford to move out and away from Betty. In the meantime, Betty, whose bangs were like rivaling Trish's for awesome bangs this episode, she decided that Brandon and Julia should really have the reception that they didn't get to have during the beginning of the pandemic when they had to rush their wedding and get married in the church because of Julia's 90 days. So Brandon and Julia weren't so keen on the idea of having a reception. They were perfectly happy with the wedding that they had. And Julia has this whole idea in her head that this is just Betty's ploy of keeping her at the farm longer to distract her from her goals. It did seem like Betty was pretty genuine, and it looked like next week we're gonna have to see Betty throw Ron some kind of birthday party where actually she tricks everybody into thinking it's a birthday party and it's some kind of celebration for Brandon and Julia. I'm sure Julia is gonna fly off the handle, so looking forward to that next week. Tiffany is back with her dad, sitting at a restaurant, and she's about to drop the bomb that Ronald has this gambling addiction because I guess her dad doesn't have cable and doesn't watch, 90 Day Fiancé. So he's only on the show, he doesn't watch the show. So she tells her dad about the gambling addiction, about his multiple arrests, and the fact that he would be responsible for Ronald for life. This is big news to her dad, who's just trying to process all the information. He somehow still agrees to sponsor Ronald and possibly lose his own refrigerator because he wants his daughter to have the nuclear family he failed to provide for her. And it's amazing what guilt will make people do. They'll make people take in Ronald. So anyway, later on, Tiffany went back to her lawyer from a couple episodes ago with the really weird hairline, like the man bangs. And she goes over to meet up with the lawyer because she wants to talk to him and talk to Ronald about, maybe like prepping for Ronald's interview process since she's afraid he's going to totally bomb it. So they're in the lawyer's office with Baby Bangs, and he's on FaceTime with Ronald, and Ronald is just like slumped on the couch, vaping. If nothing makes you look worse on a Zoom call with a lawyer, it's vaping. And he's just sitting there, lazy as can be. He's like treating it like he doesn't even care. Ronald is just not taking the whole thing seriously, acting kind of like a jerk, answering the questions in the most stupid roundabout ways. And you could just see Tiffany's blood boiling. Once she gets out of the lawyer's office, she calls him from the car to just go over the whole thing with him and basically said, gave it to him, just saying, you need to take this seriously. He didn't take it seriously because he's like, if I don't do this, and I don't get to go to the United States, you can just move to South Africa with your 2 kids. And Tiffany, of course, is not having any of that. Looks like next week she's going to go meet up with her mom again to talk to her about taking a trip to South Africa with the kids to see Ronald for the holidays and like figure out once and for all if, she wants to be Mrs. Ronald, my boy. So Andre this week, Andre. So Andre went to Chuck because he wanted to kind of like save face after his big fight with Charlie last week when he was trying to like totally demolish the kitchen of the house that he was supposed to be working on. Chuck did note that, Andre has been trying lately and he has slightly been showing some interest in working. At least he showed up that one time to the house and then another time with the hammer. But besides that, Chuck had no idea that Andre needed to be working for his green card renewal process. Of course, Andre used this to his advantage to kind of like reel Chuck in and convince him that he needs to be working for him because if not, he ran the risk of getting deported, which meant that Libby and baby Eleanor would have to move back to the Moldy O with him. Of course, that didn't sit well with Chuck, so Chuck made up a brand new fake position at his job for Andre to take part of. So after all that, we see Libby and Andre heading over to, I really don't want to say that word anymore. Can I not? We're just being feel like, okay. So then Libby and went to a yacht that Chuck had chartered for the whole family, all of the kids to get together for a little family bonding time because they haven't had enough of that. It was really cute the way that Chuck had his little Publix deli platters laid out and he had plenty of vino to go around, which of course is what this family needs. The ship set sail with one of the girls yelling, "Ahoy, bitches!" Exactly like you pictured it in your mind. As they set sail, they were in like a V formation, perfect for the camera, and just started talking. And of course, the little banter back and forth. Um, Chuck mentions that for his next act, he's going to rent an RV for the family to travel for 15 hours to visit their grandfather. Of course, the kids are like, no way. We don't want to be stuck together for 15 hours in an RV. This isn't going to work. And that just led to more problems. Charlie was standing there with a glass of wine with his sweater tied around his neck like a snooty, preppy guy in an 80s movie or something that's going to like beat up the nerdy guy. And, the girls were all dressed to the nines. Libby and sister Becky started really going at it. Eventually throwing wine at each other and then, getting in one of these like weird arm flailing fights. It was really stupid. It was really scripted. Like, you can try and be like the Chantel Thanksgiving fight. It's just not going to happen. Lightning doesn't strike twice. Anyway, after that whole fight, Chuck breaks it up. He's pissed off. He doesn't, he says, forget the family business if this is what it's going to do to the family. It was all about Libby this episode, who just needs to blow her nose. She's more nasal than I am, and that's pretty impressive. Then we saw Kalani and Asuelu driving in the car with Kalani at the wheel, Asuelu riding shotgun, and we found out that in between last week and this week, Asuelu had a car accident. Super scary, super upsetting. Don't get me wrong. I'm sure he was slightly traumatized, but they kept showing pictures of the car, and it honestly didn't even look that bad. They probably just shouldn't have shown pictures of the car. I would have been like, oh my God, is he okay? And the car like looked dented, but it wasn't like Jaws of Life situation like they were making it sound. Anyway, I'm not taking it away. Poor Asuelu in his car accident. So he was shaken up, not ready to get behind the wheel again. Kalani just made her have like this epiphany that she does love Asuelu and she wants to fight for their marriage, and she'd be really, really upset if something happened to him. So this kind of kicked their marriage into like this new gear of like trying to reconnect and actually make it work. Asuelu and Kalani and the boys then went to play mini golf, where they of course had to stop by a nearby bench to sit and talk about their relationship, which Asuelu came up with an idea. Imagine that. A romantic idea at that he wanted to just the two of them go away for the weekend to have like a little hot tub, a little bubbles, a little champagne, a little romantic time. This seems to be what Kalani was talking about a couple weeks ago while they were folding the laundry and yelling at each other. And she kind of killed the idea because she's like, well, I breastfeed all night, so we'll just bring the boys and my mom. Of course, this just was like rain on his parade. He was kind of not into this. You could see it in his face. He looked more dead-eyed than usual. And, he told her that he wasn't really looking forward to that, but understood, I guess, because of the breastfeeding, that that's the way it had to be. Kalani assured him that, like, her mom would be quiet and not fight with him in the car like they did during the lying bitch car ride. But who knows? Who's to say? I guess we'll have to see how this party of five does. They have had so little of Yara and Jovi on this show this season that, like, I kind of forgot that they were even on the show, to be quite honest. However, they were back this week. Baby Mila is turning into a chunky monkey, as Yara said. And they're prepping for Jovi to go to the airport. Mama Gwen is picking up Yara and Baby Mila and taking them back to the bayou because there's a storm that's about to hit New Orleans, and she doesn't want to leave Yara all alone with the baby. So they all get in the car to head to the airport to drop off Jovi. Yara complained incessantly the entire way there. She also packed with her $500 blow dryer, which blew Mama Gwen's mind. She couldn't imagine how you could have a $500 blow dryer. It's possible. I'm guessing it was a Dyson, but maybe it was, one of these influencers came up with their own blow dryer. I don't know. As a hairstylist, not really sure which one it was. But nonetheless, Yara doesn't even have that much thick hair to blow dry. A Conair would work just fine. Anyway, so, she's complaining the whole ride there. They have this, like, tearful, hug goodbye. I couldn't tell if she was, like, sad that he was leaving or just more mad. And then, she wasn't even wearing white pants this episode. She was wearing, like, denim cut-off short shorts. The audacity. I mean, she fit in them. Good for her. So, anyway, that's kind of it with them. I don't know where they're going to, like, take this. They're going to have, she and Gwen are going to have to, like, fake a fight next week or something because they got nothing. Angela was in big trouble this week. It turns out that her patient coordinator, who can't coordinate her outfits, and her doctor found out that she's continued to smoke, even though repeatedly she was told not to, and they canceled her wobble removal. So now Angela goes into the office to attempt to sweet talk the doctor into still removing her wobble, grobble. She called it like 5 different things. The little turkey flab. She was going to have that removed, but and have a little facelift. But instead, no deal. The doctor told her he was going to have to nicotine test her and had her sign a contract to make sure that she stopped smoking. And if she didn't and she was lying and she came in for the procedure again, he was going to fine her some huge chunk of money. Angela was really like, no one has ever talked to me this way. And she usually gets her way, kicking and screaming if necessary. And she was kind of impressed that the doctor got one up on her, and also that he was showing that he actually cared. He's a good doctor and he's not just going to do it to get paid and not care about her health. So because she left there and she had to let off a little bit of steam, she called Michael to yell at him, since she couldn't yell at the doctor anymore or he'd probably fine her more money. So she called Michael and was mad that Michael wasn't being supportive enough, wasn't calling her enough, wasn't trying to show sympathy enough about all these plastic surgeries, and they got in a big fight. Back in Nigeria, Michael met up with his sister and his Aunt Lydia, who has never held back any of her feelings about Angela and Michael's relationship. So Aunt Lydia and his sister were pounding the yams. It sounds like something that Natalie might call one of her erotic cooking videos, but they were pounding the yams. Michael helped them while breaking a sweat, and he told them all about his issues with Angela and how Angela is spending all this money on plastic surgery, and how she's over the top with this. And of course, Aunt Lydia brings up babies and how Angela should be spending this money on babies. Can this woman just get over the fact that Mimont is not having a baby? Is just not going to happen. You can't make it happen. Anyway, next week it looks like we're going to get to see Angela try to quit smoking for the 9,000th time, which may be a charm. Let's hope for the best, because her turkey wobble is depending on it. Thanks so much for tuning in for another episode of Erica Schmerica Reality Recap. If you haven't done so already, please make sure to like and subscribe to my new YouTube channel and hit the notification bell if you want to get notified about all my new videos that I'm going to post. Anyway, hope everybody has a great week, and I'll see you back here next week. Bye!